So I ended up doing kindergarten in South Bend.
Oh, okay.
No, buddy of mine, Dave Ritchie went to Florida.
Oh, yeah, he was in my class.
Yeah, Dave was in
Yeah.
your class, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave grew up yeah.
Right.
Well, did you?
I'm in the cul-de-sac. He's at the other end.
Right, he was at the other end by Kempton.
They were like one of the first remodels in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, because his dad did most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Dave went to I went to Rossmore pretty much the whole time. So Rossmore opened
Okay.
LaSalle, right? But most of the guys, like I said, Matt Van, all the guys who I was either in CCD with or was going to church with. I think
I just saw Mrs. Vanderlinden.
she's still there?
Yeah, she's still in the house.
I know.
I said there were 2 parents from our class died. And there was a funeral on Monday and a funeral on Friday. So I saw like the same 4 parents who are still alive. Were there Monday and were there Friday.
Oh man, that's cool. Kind of bad circumstances.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a big crowd.
That's right.
Yeah, if nothing else, the DJ.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Just want you to feel like we're getting everything we can out of this.
Yeah.
You've been here the whole time?
I
Keep
sit
it
in the
back.
back and I listen to all your conversations before I come out.
All right, I'll call the April 23rd Planning Commission meeting to order. Can we roll call, please?
Chair Quilty,
Here.
Vice Chair Hasty,
Here.
Commissioner Griego,
Here.
Commissioner Heichman,
Here.
and Commissioner Leger.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I guess we're going to start with the presentation.
First of all, thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to be here today. Obviously, I don't get a whole lot of time to spend with you as a group, and so I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about kind of one of the big things that's coming up for us, which is the budget. You guys might be aware that a couple of years ago we switched to a 2-year budget cycle, which allows us to do kind of some forward planning. It's kind of been best practices in the industry for a couple of years. Happy to say that Westcom, who handles all of our dispatch, is actually now adopting that practice as well. So as we start that process, one of the things that we've been doing is getting out a little bit more beyond, I'll call it our usual suspects and who we're discussing the budget with. We've been having different conversations with the different employee groups. We've been talking to some of our residents. Obviously, the council will have their input after the initial budget presentation on Monday. But one of the things that I wanted to really get to in the habit of doing was coming and asking the different commissioners what exactly they were thinking about the budget, different areas where they think that we might be able to stretch a little, try to do a little bit more. If there are things that you see out there in the street that personally get your blood pressure up. Those are things that we would like to know about. And also just kind of this general idea of you are the starting gate for what exactly is going to happen in this town going forward. All new development shows up on your desk before it shows up on anybody else's. So having your ideas and starting to incorporate them into the mix of what exactly goes into a budget is personally important to me, and I know it's important to the council. Before I start, I just wanted to kind of give you a very brief rundown of what exactly our budget looks like today. This is meant to be a very informal dialogue, so if you have questions, please ask. I don't have Craig here, so I probably will not be able to answer any of them, but at least we'll get them on records and I can get you answers back as quickly as possible. So one of the nice things is that this will be the 6th budget since I've came to Los Alamitos, and I'm happy to report that since that time we've adopted structurally balanced budgets. Now I know that does, you just threw an extra word in there, balanced and structural. Largely means that we are spending less than we are taking in. I learned a long time ago in economics class that was the way that businesses were supposed to run, so that is how we are doing it here. One of the things that I do want to point out though is during that time, we've been able to double our reserve account. We're up to almost $20 million, a little bit north of that. and also that we have taken a number of different steps to try to really control our costs going forward. That came in the throes of different labor negotiations where we were able to get good long-term contracts with our staff so that we know what those costs are going to be going out into the future. And then also we're taking a concerted effort right now to really kind of pay down our unfunded liability. We're one of the few cities in Orange County, especially cities of this size, where we're making extra payments in order to allow ourselves to get in front of that big balloon payment that's going to come from the state at some point. Happy to report that if we are able to follow this investment policy and CalPERS is able to hit their investment targets, we actually will have our pension liability paid down in 10 years, which is 10 years shorter than we normally would have had that done. So that, again, is a big goal for us here locally. It also saves our taxpayers about $3 million when we get it done. Next, I did want to talk a little bit about how exactly we are funding projects out in the street. When this team first got together, we were spending about $350,000 a year in street improvements. We now are spending about $10 million in street improvements. Street improvements, park improvements, redoing of capital sites that need to be updated, like Community Center 2, which will actually come on for construction this year. Following that, we also have gotten to a place of staffing with the city that I think is appropriate for us going forward. When I first came here, the city had a target of reaching 24 officers. We were at 16 at the time. We're now at 24. We have an officer that will be sworn in on Monday, which is great, which will be 24. We have 25, which will graduate from the academy later on in May. And then we have a lateral that's coming to fill a sergeant's vacancy that we have, which will be 25. So by the time we get to the end of the summer, we will be completely staffed. What does that mean to residents? It means that we go to a different deployment model where we actually will have 3 officers deployed, patrolling the city at any given time, plus a watch commander that will be back here at City Hall at the police department, directing their operations for the night. And then after all of that, we actually have gotten to a place where we're starting to do a lot of different things within how we're doing staffing. We have a management analyst program now where we actually take some very bright individuals and we shift them around to different departments at any given time, depending on what the need is of the organization at that moment. The savings there is that we're not having an actual analyst for each one of the departments. We're actually just moving them around, and it gives us a well-rounded workforce. So the reason I bring all this up is we're at a place right now where we have accomplished a lot of the goals that were set out for us by the City Council. We're now getting into that next round of planning as to what are the next things that are going to come up. We've already decided, or the council's already decided, that we're going to tackle all of the parks by the time we get 3 years out. We're starting our 3rd park renovation this year. So that's Stearns, which was recently completed, Labradette, and Sir Optimus, which will all be under construction this year. Labradette is following on right after that, and we are actually into the throes of looking for a grant funding to be able to redo Little Cottonwood, and then obviously try to pick up some additional park space in different places of the city. We also are in the throes right now of our first year of really doing a intergovernmental affairs program, where we're going out to our state and federal elected officials, also the different agencies at the state and federal level, in order to try to secure as much funding as we can. To date, that number is right around $12 million of money that the residents will not have to put up in order to get projects done. A big one that's going to come online here this year will be the Pine Street project, which I know that all of you are aware of, kind of a remaking of that area to make it more in line with our downtown vision for Los Alamitos. Again, part of our strategy here is really to go outside and seek as much money as we can and then find projects that match up with it. There will be a concerted effort with what exactly we're trying to accomplish with the base this year. I was just on site today with Congressman Tran's chief of staff and then the Colonel Fox about where are the different areas where we might put an emergency operations center, and then if there's different areas where we might be able to take on more of an active role in the base in terms of managing the property, allow the war fighters to do the war fighting, and we can manage and fill potholes, because that's really what we do well. And oddly enough, soldiers aren't trained to do that. So another place where we can actually help and build a more I think, meaningful partnership going forward. All in all, we're about a $29 million operation. We have about $10 million this year that are going to CIPs, capital improvement projects, and then we also have some funds that we will see come in from various projects that will ultimately inform some of our other commissions and the things that they want to do, mostly in the Parks and Rec department as we start to put to work some of the funds that we get from the development projects that are going to be built here in the next couple of years. With that, I would like to open it up to questions, and then obviously anything that you guys have in terms of, hey, I was driving down the street, this thing bugged me, and now I have a guy in front of me who can maybe do something about it, or tell you that I can't do anything about it. So this is really, it's an opportunity for you guys to say what's on your mind, and then also before I leave, I want to make sure that everybody has my cell phone number. So once you walk out of this room, I'm sure you're going to come up with 10 or 15 other things that I can take back and put into the hopper. And with that, obviously, Madam Chair, I'd like to turn it back over to you.
All right. Do we want to start down there, Shannon?
Start with me. Things that I think need improvement.
Or make you happy. I'll take both.
You know, the traffic on Bloomfield in front of LAE, and when kids are getting in and out of school, there's no kind of traffic control, there's no kind of traffic awareness. Some people try to cross the middle of Bloomfield with their kids, so that's a little crazy. The same when there's Friday night lights, it's even worse.
Irving, I know that you probably have more information about this than I do, but there is plans for a new crosswalk to actually get across Bloomfield. And Irving, just jump in when I get this wrong, because I will. The idea is to create a mid-block that has actual, it's activation lights where you push the button and then it flashes and such. We actually were able to get a grant through former Congresswoman Steele, so it actually will be federally funded. We had a groundbreaking,
Last year.
yeah, about what we're waiting for right now is, it was an appropriation that was made during this current budget cycle. Sadly, Congress hasn't yet to approve their budget for this year. That makes our planning a little bit difficult, obviously, but that is one that we definitely have in the hopper and has been approved, does have funding behind it. The school board is very excited about it. I think we received a letter from the school board superintendent about just this might help us a lot. And one of the things that we're trying to do too is, once we have gotten to 25 officers, is that every year we're going to have our motor officer actually pick a different school site and go out and do a safety assessment and basically see if there's something we can do about redesigning how cars are entering, exiting, where the drop-offs are, and those kind of things, to see if there's something that we can't do collectively in order to try to make it a more harmonious space when everyone's trying to drop their kids off for school.
Okay.
I promise I'm not going to have an answer to every single one of these, so that was just a
good
fluke.
answer.
I have $5 for you for asking the easy one up front.
Okay, well, I'll go with the good then. I've been noticing the renovations of the parks around town, and I've been really pleased with what I've been seeing. I think you just finished Stearns, if I remember right, which is over on Farquhar, and it looks fantastic. It really looks beautiful. Are you planning on doing this through, I mean, where are we in that process right now in terms of renovation of those parks? And then I had a follow-up to that, but let's just start with that one.
So right now we have, and again, Irving, I'll ask you to jump in when I mess this up. So we currently have plans and specs for 3 parks, the Stearns, Labradette, and Sir Optimus. The plan is to actually start the next iteration of planning. We've been doing it in three-part chunks to try to just make sure that we have enough, I'll call it, we want to know what the price of these things is going to be before we start planning for it. If we plan for it today and we don't end up building it till next year, the price will be dramatically different. And so we're doing that kind of things. And then also, oddly enough, you wouldn't think there'd be a whole slew of new park regulations every single year, but sadly there are. And we want to make sure that we're not designing something that's going to be obsolete in a few years. But I will say this, we have a new council member whose father-in-law lives across the street from Stearns Park, and he likes to report to me almost daily about how many people are at that park, and it's surprising that a park that size can draw that many people. And I don't know if it's because it's new right now, but there seems to be a healthy number of kids that are out there.
Well, I'm noticing a lot also at Orville Lewis, which of course is right one of the smaller parts in the corner now. I'm noticing that baseball teams are in there practicing pretty much every day. And, you know, we've got the one diamond that's in the corner, as I'm sure you know, anybody who's been to Orville Lewis, right? But, you know, increasingly we're probably going to have, that probably becomes one of our more basic usages. And then also with your discussion of what's going on with the Joint Forces Base, has there been any discussions with the Colonel, with anyone else? There's still some open property, I think, if it's right adjacent to Cottonwood as you go east on the base.
Yes.
Has there been any discussions there about potentially what your usages would be, or right, if there'd be any kind of coordination with JT, right, with Joint Forces?
I want you all to know I did not pay for him to prompt me with that question, but since he did, yes. So one of the things that has been, I think, not overlooked, I think it was just a manner of, you know, where we were politically, financially, and just the back and forth between the bases. We've never really explored what exactly the opportunities are there in any meaningful way. For those of you that don't know, we're in the process right now of actually taking over management of the pool, the gym, some fields out there that we hope to turn into more pickleball courts, and then also the LAYB, the baseball fields that are out there. The idea is that area between Little Cottonwood and LAYB is about 50 some odd acres of land that is currently vacant, and quite frankly, it's a large tinderbox of palm trees that haven't seen water since the beginning of time, and ground brush and such. It's an opportunity to really kind of get in there and do something. We just toured it today, and the vision, at least for the moment, is to try to see if we can get the National Guard and the Fed to actually lease us that 50 acres worth of space that we have there, and be able to actually populate that space with not only a regional emergency operations center. I don't know how many of you know this, but that is the last military airfield in Los Angeles and Orange County. So in the event that, you know, there's an earthquake, civil unrest, anything, the nearest resupply is coming from March Air Force Base out in the desert, or Camp Pendleton. We all know if there's an earthquake, PCH is not going to be a viable option. Neither are any of the roads getting out to March. So this is kind of where the last of the Mohicans will be able to make their stand. And so making sure that it actually is operational and they are able to take care of it is important for us. If we're able to take 50 acres of land off of their docket and be able to program it and actually maintain it ourselves, it's 50 acres they don't have to worry about, but it's also 50 acres of land that we can turn into productive uses, such as additional ball fields. We're thinking about actually a partnership with the Long Beach Veterans Affairs Hospital that's out there, and then also with Cal Optima about trying to bring some veterans rehab facilities to that site. And then ultimately there's plenty of opportunity for some joint public safety type buildings that we could put up there as well. So that is a goal for us. The same question comes around to everything, is money. Sure. So we do think though that this one has an opportunity to go, simply from the standpoint that Orange County really doesn't have a viable operations center where they can actually locate and operate out of in the event of a fire or a natural disaster. This is perfect for all of that, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be trying to look and make that partnership work. And especially if we're able to get some land out of it where we can improve the quality of life for our residents, that's definitely something we want to do.
Great. I appreciate that. Like I said, everything else I've seen, and park-wise and everything else, I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
I can't think of anything that bothers me in the city.
See, that's all I needed to hear, and I'd like to bring you in
yeah.
for my next review with the city council.
It's great to hear that the police department's fully staffed now. I mean, I've always been impressed with the time it takes for them to respond to a call. Even when we were understaffed has always been great, so I can imagine now it'll be even better. And when you go on Nextdoor, I know there's a lot of complaining on Nextdoor, but like you never see people from Los Alamitos complaining about the police department, where
Right.
Long Beach, Rossmore, Seal Beach, they all have issues. So
It's a particular point of pride with us is, again, and I think if the chief was here, he'd say the same thing. we don't see the police department as its own entity. Police department's part of the whole. You can't have a police department without Irving making sure that the streets get paved. You can't do it without Craig making sure that that the streets aren't getting paved. Craig's making sure that they're getting paid, making sure we have the right equipment and that kind of stuff. But one of the things that we've been really focusing on with our officers is getting the right fit. We used to be a recruiting ground for a lot of other agencies. They would come here, get trained, and then move on to someplace else. And so we had a constant revolving door of officers. We have figured out a way to stop that by really trying to locate officers that really have something either in their past or in their future that is germane to Los Alamitos, and they have an instant buy-in as to what exactly we're trying to accomplish here, and it's been helpful. We haven't lost a whole lot of officers in the last couple of years, which is a particular point of pride for us.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because I know that's always been a problem.
And I will say this too, so I believe right now that we actually have the lowest response times for Part 1 crimes in Orange County, which puts us just a hair under 2 minutes. Once we've confirmed that number, that's something that we will be yelling and singing from the rooftops, but we are on our way.
First of all, I appreciate you coming in, and I think it's more of a check-in than a presentation,
Yes.
which is kind of nice. Appreciate that. Since you were talking about the base, one of the things, having been here for in the area since '76, you see, so many changes have happened over there, and being involved in the sports teams and stuff, and trying to get space over there. And one of the things that I can't remember his name, but the commander that kind of saved that base. And one of the reasons he saved it was he was able to bring in other entities, which made it harder to cut.
Yes.
So I think if you go, I would say that's a good idea that we're going to be one of those partners per se. But the one word of caution over there is just that the way that they do change their commanders, you go through these periods of time where they're really bad at kind of honoring their agreements of the past. So I think anything you do over there has got to be concrete. I mean, it's got to be to whatever level you got to do it, and sign whatever you got to sign, because you can physically see. I mean, I live right off the base, so I can physically see a change when the commander changes. Right. Just the way anything from what time they open the gate to, I mean, it's crazy how it changes so quickly.
So to your point, I've only lived through 2 commanders at this point, and I will say, maybe it's just because we had our act together, but this commander that we have right now, Colonel Fox, is fantastic
I've heard
to
good
work
things,
with.
yeah.
He, quite frankly, I couldn't hope for a better military partner than the one that we have right now. Unfortunately, much to, like you're saying, we lose him in October. So our plan is that prior to October, all of our deals will be inked, and instead of doing the 1-year deals that we've been forced into in the past, he and I have had a long conversation about trying to extend those deals out. So the current deals that we're inking right now are 9-year deals with options for more, so that it's already in place when the new base commander gets in place. And then also, I have a commitment not only from him, but the general that oversees him, that we've already made so many inroads here in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. We're not going to go back and start over from scratch.
Yeah, don't. Because it's
and
been years and years in the making, I think, too, just to be able to even have anything over there. Yeah.
And I will say this, and again, I think that this is a great idea. I think the council is behind it, staff's behind it, simply because they have a healthy fear of me. But the important thing is that there's so much potential on that base, and I understand the mantra of the military, which is don't give up land because you never get it back. The facilities that we're looking to put on base are actually beneficial not only to our residents but also to the military personnel that'll be there. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to find one where everybody nods their head and says, yeah, that just makes good sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're gonna get to a point where what is it that you're putting there? Hopefully that's the question you have to answer. But,
right.
But that's where you can get the community involved, hopefully, and find the right thing, because you will create traffic and other things, which is great, but not great, but services are great too. So, real quick, since you're here, I think I already know the answer to this, but I figured I'd give you a chance to say it. The issues with the Lexington with the diagonal parking and the Cerritos. I know, I think it's in the works, if you want to just say what's going on.
Sure, actually, I'm happy because you're giving me an opportunity to say what I'm gonna say on Monday. So the city's been trying, let me back up a little bit if you'll indulge me.
Sure.
So the city has been trying different traffic calming and parking increase measures throughout the city. Different places are getting different attention. You all familiar with what has happened here in Old Town West with the parking, with narrowing the roads by using paint. The whole goal there was not to increase parking, but to slow down traffic. And the surveys that we've done over here have proved that it has slowed down traffic, so that's great. It took a couple months for everyone to get used to having these weird markings on the ground, but I get that. We've tried a couple things in different areas, and what we're realizing as we put them down on the ground and watch them operate for a couple months, there's small little tweaks that we need to make in order to make them actually work the way we want them to. You mentioned two. The first one, Lexington, I'm gonna be reporting to the city council that pilot program, we got some really good feedback, I think in the last council meeting about what exactly things that maybe didn't get taken into account when we were talking about it, trying to increase parking spaces and such. What we plan to do is actually go back to parallel parking on the east side of the street. And we think that will alleviate a lot of the concerns that we heard coming from the residents that were here at the last council meeting, but also installing a stop sign at Howard and Lexington as traffic's coming off the base to try to just slow them down a little bit. And then that will be done in conjunction with some, I'll call it some dedicated on-site traffic enforcement, so that for the first 3 or 4 weeks after this thing is put into place, we'll be able to be out there and make sure that it's running correctly. And
Yeah, if they push that through, I think that would solve the safety problem of the blind spots, and then the free flow out of the base is really the two problems.
my hope there is that we can do it quickly, not have to waste another cycle of a city council meeting. So hearing no objections from the council, that'll be something that I'll be directing staff to do the next day. The nice part about it is when we actually went out and designed the project, we built in a contingency because we knew there were probably going to be changes. So we're still going to be able to finish the project under budget. So it all works out perfectly. And let me just point out something there. There's a lot of cities where I think, people come up to the podium and make suggestions, or people in your chairs make suggestions about, different projects or things that the city could do. We really do take those into consideration. It is not a black hole. We sit down, we analyze it. Within 2 days of hearing those comments, I was out there. One of our council members happened to be driving by. He stopped. We walked up the neighborhood real quick and took a look at everything. I've had 3 different conversations about it with the council members. So they really do hear when people say things and are looking to try to figure out a way to make it work for everybody. It's not just my way or the highway. So that's good. And then also go ahead.
Go ahead, and LosAl and Cerritos.
LosAl and Cerritos, we actually will be presenting 4 different options for that intersection at the next council meeting. If council is able to coalesce around one idea, we'll get the engineers to put it all together, and then we'll be back to change that relatively quickly. I will say this, I've learned more about bike lanes in the last month and a half than any person who is not a traffic engineer should have to learn. But that is it's a model that it does work, it just doesn't work there. It'll work in different places. It's just that, given the confluence of students coming back from the high school, it's not ideal for our city.
Yeah, making that turn across where
Yeah.
bikes are going straight,
Right.
it's an accident waiting to happen. But it's good that they're going to come up with something else.
Yeah,
So.
and I think this is one of the takeaways, and I'm trying to pound this into, well, not pound this into the council side because they were fairly receptive to it, is that given the fact that we're trying all of these new things, we're going to put things on the ground and see if they work, because that's the only way that residents are going to know if it really works for them. But if we do that, we have to be open to 2 things. 1, the criticism that comes with it, and 2, a willingness to change. If we're able to have that where no one's being blamed, we tried something, we need to work out the nuances, we got some input from residents, and we can change it and make it better and have it all work within the same budget, that's kind of exactly where we all want to go at the end of the day. So we're hopeful that the comments will keep on coming.
No, and I agree with you. I think it's easy, to criticize something that goes down. I think the more that the city shows that they're receptive to it, I think sometimes, especially, and I understand, I work in this industry too, when have a project or giving a presentation or something, you know what you had to do to get it, and you're compliant here and compliant there.
Right.
And I think in the beginning, it just, when the first presentation came, it just wasn't expressed in a way that we're willing to kind of change. And I think you stepped in that night too. So I think I'm glad that, I kind of knew the answer. I kind of knew I saw something in the traffic. So I'm glad that kind of came full circle, and the council will be looking at this and moving it forward, because I think they did hear from quite a few people and themselves, because they were interested that night
Right.
too.
And an engaged council that has an opinion about something is exactly what this town needs. So I'm happy that we have the.
No, it's good, and I'm just glad it was able to be receptive, and that's good. And then last question, you might know the answer to, because it's and I see you guys are already doing it. What's going on with the improvements in here, or is this just temporary? Or
you don't like the kind of refugee
No,
food
no,
our
I
homeland
do.
kind
It's
of
just
look that we got going on here?
I know you must have had some troubles, because there were some troubles with the live
Right.
stream, or
So this all goes back to, as clever as we think we are with funding, sometimes other people get in the way. So as you know, we're in the middle of, or just starting to renovate the Community Center 2, which is the old youth center building. The idea is for that to actually become our new council chambers, a swing space, and also our local emergency operations center. We had secured about $300,000 of grant funding from the Fed in order to pay for the screens, the monitors, the wiring, and all that kind of stuff. The problem is it's tied up with the federal budget
right.
until such time as they decide to stop doing continuing resolutions and actually make a decision on something. That money is kind of being held in abeyance. So where we are right now is we're trying not to make large-scale investments into this building simply because we tear it all out and move it over there. So
Makes sense, yeah.
I can see this being our setup for probably a couple of months as we slowly kind of try to transition into what can we put in here that'll help us get the job done until that building
No, it
is
totally
up and
makes
running.
sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and believe me, it's every single time we have a meeting about this building, it's okay. Well, can you tear that out and put it in the new building when it's up and running? No, we can't. Well,
No, you can't.
Then you don't get it. So, yeah.
Okay.
But we're close. We're close.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, well, lots of positives. What the commission was echoing regarding parks, I think Stearns looks great. I live right next door to La Burdette, and they're coming along there and really excited about that. I know a lot of the kids are needing places to play. They don't play out in the street or on some of the lawn spaces, so it's good that that park is going to be coming along shortly. I also wanted to applaud the fact that you have now a dedicated intergovernmental affairs person and really actively looking for funding at the federal and the state level. I think that's really key, and really applaud the city for doing that.
Can we speak into the mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Okay. So, yeah, I just want to echo that I think the parks are great, and the fact that you have an intergovernmental affairs staff person and that there's a lot of energy and success in that area is really wonderful. Also wanted to echo positives about the Lexington diagonal parking. I live right there, and so the fact that there are less blind spots coming out of the alleys is huge. The fact that there will be a stop sign put in, I think is really going to help that area. And I have personally noticed there's cars have been slowing down, and it's
Good.
really been working well. A couple of comments. Hearing you talk about partnering at the base with the VA and services for veterans, we have such a robust veteran population here that being able to do that and to take some of the pressure off of the Long Beach VA, even though it's a huge campus, I know parking is a challenge, so if there can be more things local done, I think that would be fabulous. And I also wanted to ask about, you talked about funding of certain projects like the Pine Street renovation. Are there other projects that are earmarked in the town center strategic plan
So
coming up?
I'm glad you asked that question. So within the town center itself, we're working with some of the property owners to talk about either consolidation or new tenant mixes that we can try to bring in. Since we're going to be redoing Pine Streets, it just makes sense that the bottom floor becomes, either a restaurant, brewery, something that is going to be open that can invite people in, especially if we're going to be doing a lot of our events on Pine Street. Those conversations are really about trying to show the property owners what the value is in developing or partnering with somebody else. So it's a little bit more of a lift, I guess, at the end of the day. But one of the things that did happen at the last council meeting, the city council approved our economic development plan, which is one of the first, well, it is the first that the city has had, which is kind of nice. We actually are going to ask them at the next council meeting to also dedicate 2 internal staff to be working on on those projects. Their whole goal is going to be going out to businesses and trying to figure out basically playing matchmaker. How can we move this piece into this place and see how exactly we can get a better mix of businesses going forward. So that's the main one within the town center. But one thing that is going to come before you, and not to tell you that you're all going to be incredibly busy for the next year, but you are. One of the things that we've been talking about within the economic development plan, it identified a couple different sites throughout the city. And I'll take one just because I think it's a good example. The Arrowhead site that's on
Katella.
Thank you.
Katella.
I do know the street names, it's just I have to visualize it. So
Katella between Noel and Lexington,
yes.
right?
Yeah. They, for a long time, have been reconsolidating, moving things around. They recently went in for some line adjustments with the county. Those are usually telltale signs of we're planning on doing something with this property here in the next however many years. This city in particular, for a long time, has had the approach of, well, we'll just sit back and wait and see what you come up with, and then we'll argue about it when we get there. Instead of doing that, we're going to take a more proactive approach where Irving and his team, along with some of the economic development folk, will actually go out there and really start doing some advanced planning, which is a new thing for our city, where you'll take a site that size, which is north of 14 acres. Okay. Huge piece of land right here, smack dab in the middle of Los Al. If we can take that land and really start thinking about what exactly should go on it, what's the right mix, what are we going to try to attract to it, and if we start these conversations now, we can line this thing up in terms of being able to be ready in 3 to 5 years if they decide, hey, we're moving out, or we're pulling all of our engineers to move back to Tennessee or what have you, that it's not a building that just goes up for sale. It's a building that goes up for sale with a plan attached to it that you all have been able to give input, the residents have been able to give input, staff's had input, and it serves both purposes. The developer will know what exactly the city wants to see there, so it removes risk for them at the end of the day, and it also allows us to play a more active role in what exactly we want to see come to our town in the future. So there's maybe about, I'll call them, out of the 10 sites, there's probably 3 or 4 that we need to act on, I think, within the next 2 to 3 years, and so sadly, those are all things that are going to come before you folks, but it does allow you to play a meaningful role in what exactly the city will look like 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And one of the things that's important to remember, and you know this better than everybody, but I feel like I have to say it, as much as we want to control development, we don't. We can control the confines, the space, where it goes, that kind of stuff, but largely developers are driving that boat in terms of what they can get financed and what exactly they think they can get approved. So having a vision for ourselves as opposed to relying on theirs is important, and that's where I'd like to put the city going forward.
Great.
So not exactly town center, but there's enough around there
Yeah,
to make
sure.
it work. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to have Irving drop my cell phone number to each one of you. Please feel free to call me if something comes up that is in the back of your mind. This shouldn't be a once a year thing. I plan on trying to actually come back maybe when we get through, we'll have the budget adopted and then come in mid-year and do kind of a update. And then at that time, if there's things that you guys have that you want to talk about, then I'm obviously game to talk about those then. Okay. Madam Chair, again, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the time.
Thank you. All right, seeing nobody here from oral communications, we'll move on to the consent calendar and the approval of the February minutes. Do we have any comments or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We don't have any public hearing discussion. Do we have any staff reports?
It would be items from the Development Services Department.
Okay.
So, thank you, Madam Chair, members of our Planning Commission. I want to thank you for all the feedback provided to our city manager. I do have a few items, and some of them you have them in front of you, and they're event flyers that are coming up. One in particular is this Saturday, April 26th. It's our Arbor Day event. I'll quickly give you a little historical kind of reference of how this event has evolved into a much larger event. Start off as just a tree planting ceremony on a Thursday morning. We would invite our public and community members to come out, recognizing that it's a rather important topic and one that we want to celebrate community-wide. We've since then converted that into a Saturday event, and we're anticipating that there's going to be a much larger attendance. Obviously, it being on a Saturday, celebrating spring, just making it a lot more community-driven. So there's going to be various activities planned, including our partnership with UWS, which is our trash hauler. They're going to be doing, the first time with this event is our mulch and compost giveaway. So if you're interested, from the hours of 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., it's a drive-up setting that you will drive through into the parking lot and out, and members of the UWS team will load it in the car. Following that, from 10 to 12 is the actual event, and it's going to involve everything from games, crafts, activities, a nature walk that's going to be centered around really just preserving nature and environment, and doing some activities kind of around the back end of the park on the south side. And then culminating with the tree planting ceremony, we'll be planting 2 new trees at the park. So that's this Saturday, so I would highly encourage you to attend if you're free. I'll be out there, but really this is pioneered by our Economic Development Assistant, Taylor, who's been working hard at this. And I will announce too that we've received the Tree City USA recognition, which is a national brand. And so our hope was to be able to really put that as a feather on the cap to this event, and then continue moving forward every year. So we'll be presenting that to our city council in the coming months and celebrating. And so you'll see those placards that you might see in other adjacent communities that represent Tree City USA. So that's exciting. The next event is our neighborhood cleanup event, and that's in May. That's Saturday, May 17th from 8 a.m. to 11. That's going to be at Pine Street. It's been done for the last few years, and again, it's designed so that it's a drive-up format rather quickly. If you have any bulky items, any e-waste, or any personal documents that you'd like to shred, that'll be provided to Los Alamitos residents exclusively, and that's again partnered with UWS. I also would like to mention, going back to Arbor Day, our neighbors are Epson. They're our sponsor for the 2nd year in a row, so we want to make sure that they get their pub for that event too. So, but going back to neighbor cleanup, obviously it's a few weeks away, so I would highly recommend that if you do have any items that you want to discard, the flyer itself discloses the types of items. Unfortunately, household hazardous waste is not among those, but that's still a service that we provide in the city, and we can direct you to the link where you can find that information if you have that. Third item that I'd like to just present, and it'll be at our city council meeting on Monday, is the improvement to the on-ramp and off-ramp here off of the 605 on Katella, and that's going to be organized by OCTA and Caltrans. So on Monday night, they're going to be doing a presentation for city council and then the public. So if you plan to attend the meeting or just view it from your home, or even afterwards just to review, you'll have valuable information as to what you can expect in terms of major construction starting in June-ish, starting in the summer. And so
For
it
how
luckily worked out. It's pretty lengthy timeline. I would say at least a year. Yeah, so there's going to be there's going to be a lot of improvement that will unfortunately be inconvenient at the beginning, but it'll be intended to make improvements on and off the freeway, widening of the street, and a bike lane that'll connect directly through Los Alamitos to Long Beach.
Do you know how soon these are going to be beginning in terms of, are we talking about May, June, right?
June is the projected timeline. So again, city council meeting, you'll have information that they'll provide, and they've done a lot of outreach and will continue to do a lot of outreach, not only in the city but surrounding areas as well. And then I know, I understand that Commissioner Hasty requested information on vacancies in the city for both residential and commercial. Tom and I are working on that, so we will be bringing that at a future planning commission meeting. And then offline, I'll provide Chet's number. So that's all I have for the department. Thank you.
Do any commissioners have a report?
I'll just say, I went to the event on Saturday over at the park. It looked like the kids were having fun.
Swing carnival.
Yeah, grab an Easter egg, so. And I appreciate, I was gonna mention about because I actually got reminded myself when I reviewed the minutes that I did ask for that. I think it's important to have that when we kind of look at some of this stuff, so thank you for working on that. I know it's kind of a hard thing to grasp.
We'll have it prepared, thank you.
Great.
All right, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Easy one.
Yeah.
It wasn't